Good morning, everyone. How are you? 1 Million Cups is my favorite event, so I hope you are in the right place. This is a special opportunity, I suppose. My name is Ben McDougall, and I'm with Flightbright, but I'm also the MC at 1 Million Cups in Des Moines. And so it's a pleasure to be up here for the Organizers Summit this week. And in this case, I get to tell a little story about Flightbright, so I'm super excited to share what we're up to. Before we get things fired up, I know that all of us have a little smart computer in our pocket, and I figured this would be a fun little giveaway. So this is a little 1 Million Cups special Flightbright version of the glassware, and whoever gets loudest on Twitter will get one, and whoever gets loudest on Instagram can have the other, and then I'll have the other two. Sorry, they're not different. We have a time So let's start today by kind of thinking back. Think back to the last time that you ordered a flight of craft beer. Think of all the different choices that you had and the process that you went through of really selecting which one that sounded great to you. And then as they arrived, which one was which? You can nod your head because every single person has experienced this. And so whether it's that problem from the consumer standpoint, or whether it's the perspective from a brewery, a restaurant, or a bar, how are they supposed to differentiate themselves when the consumer can't even identify what they enjoyed about their place? Turns out craft beer is not hard to find. So we have come up with the future and the solution. This is the world's first electronic beer flight paddle. Our platform, as you can see, highlights each of the beers with the name and the style, and that color touchscreen connects to Wi-Fi, so it can transmit updated information, whether that's the IBU or the ABV or who it's made by, really tapping into some details about each beer. And then it allows the consumer to share their experience throughout social media and also rate that total experience right there in the tap room. To pair with the paddle, we're excited about the consumer-facing app that's going to allow us as beer lovers to go in and track your smart flight experience. And so it's definitely a neat opportunity to further engage in that beer and what you're enjoying. So from the consumer standpoint, you have your app, you have your paddle that's now alive, and active and accurate. Behind the scenes, the industry and the establishments have a really neat responsive online dashboard. So they're able to check out not only what beers are popular, but every flight that was served. They're able to set up their social media campaigns, manage their active beer menus, and tap into analytics that can really guide their business decisions. And so it's been interesting to build this over the last 2 years. As a lot of us know, entrepreneurship can kind of be a lonely roller coaster, but it's been exciting, and as you can imagine, our customer discovery has been a pretty good time. And so after talking with a lot of people, we unveiled the technology at the Craft Brewers Conference in Washington, D.C. in April. And we have some paying customers that we're excited about. Some Iowa breweries are fully implemented with smart flights, and our first national customer just came online. They have 7 locations and are building 8 nines. So it's a really neat opportunity to expose the technology to some of the larger folks around the country. Now, I'm sure we have a lot of people spinning and thinking, all right, so this beer paddle is cool, but I like wine. Or I prefer cheese, or maybe that whiskey drink, right? One of the things that I'm very proud of is the way that we've built our company in an aligned way so that we can not only have the branding prepared for new markets, but also the technology and the IP are also built to transcend into new markets. I mean, the quick numbers up here are obvious, each one is big, and so I think it's important to stay focused, and we've done a good job of that being in craft beer for now. But the roadmap for our product line is something that we're also very excited about. And when you consider such a big opportunity in each of those markets, I think team is the number one thing that we have to stay focused with. And so I'm so thankful to have these two guys on my team. Ben Sinclair on the right is just a wizard when it comes to technology. And so he's been able to bring a touchscreen to life and connected the entire online database so that the experience is fluid, while Ethan Davidson is just a guru when it comes to manufacturing and product design. Myself, I like to tell stories, and I'm kind of an idea machine who drives the marketing and sales for the company. So it's been a pleasure working with these guys, and we're excited to kind of use this stage, I suppose. Being at the mothership of 1 Million Cups, you guys are lucky. This is a neat opportunity to share our big news. So this is the very first time that I'm standing on stage and sharing that Flightbright is now raising capital. We have bootstrapped our company for the last 2 years and kind of reduced all the risks of product awareness or product fit, figured out how to interact with the market, and so the timing is perfect. And so I think before the question asks, how can the community help support us? I think, grabbing your phone and sharing Flightbright with maybe that restaurant owner or the brewery that you enjoy going to would be a nice way of kind of spreading the word, right? But if there are investors in the room or potentially folks within the community who could strategically weave into what we're building here, that's something that we're also excited with, and our investor pack is well prepared so that they can enjoy their experience learning about our story. Speaking of stories, this is the best part. Let's have some fun with the Q&A. Before we do though, what do you guys think of Flightbright? All right.
Okay, first question. Can you break down the numbers a little bit for us? What's the cost of the product and what are you selling it for?
Yeah, absolutely. So the pricing is up here on my backup screen. I figured that might be a question. As you can see, we've really simplified the pricing from the establishment's perspective. So it's $10 per paddle per month. If you have 100, if you have 10, it's $100. We have some bulk pricing as you move towards 50. The app is super cheap, so it's just kind of a no-brainer, and it's a good way to segue into the consumer paddle. This thing is fully manufactured, so without losing sight of the electronic smart flight experience, we can supplement our profit line with a consumer, just a novelty item for the home bar. And so that's kind of the pricing from the buyer's perspective. Costs are something that we're eager to move our bill of materials down. We need it to be in kind of that $50 to $60 range per paddle. However, right now it's still in kind of that 80 range. So we're looking to, obviously, with quantity, reduce pricing.
Thank you very much for sharing this. I would love to hear a little bit more about how you're marketing this to the bars. Like how have you gone about doing that so far, and what do you plan to do?
Sure. I promise I didn't know these questions. So the marketing aspect is kind of my bag of tea, I suppose, and so I've enjoyed sharing our story, building community kind of as a core. I think the organic nature of our brand is something that's now valuable. All you do is put $1 or $2 on top of some of those efforts, and it can really expand quickly. So as you can see here, our website is kind of the home base. It's got all sorts of great content about beer flights and the value of what samples can do for businesses. It's getting traffic from all over the place. Social media is super interesting. Like I mentioned, Twitter and Instagram are kind of our most active areas, but we're still on Facebook and throughout the social media landscape. Instagram is where craft beer lives, though, and so that's been an area that we've focused on probably most. Industry events, like I mentioned, the Craft Brewers Conference and those type of gatherings are really impactful for us. And then I think the best part about this product is you set it in front of someone at the bar, and eyes start gravitating towards it. Like, the social currency of this product is really, really cool. And as they start sharing their smart flight experience throughout social media, turns out the other establishments are going to start seeing all that activity, brand awareness, and customer connectivity. And I'm not silly enough to say anything will sell itself, but that virality can start snowballing.
So question about usage so far, right? So I see this as multiple tiered sales, right? Like you have to sell it to the actual business unit, but then you have to get buy-in from the servers and the bartenders to
Yes.
use it, which is hard.
Yes.
What's your experience been there so far?
So it needs to work the first time, or they'll never give it a second try. As most folks know, there's a fair amount of turnover. So making a product that's super intuitive and only takes one click or two to learn how it works is another good aspect of the product so far. One thing that we're excited about moving forward is POS integration. And so it's something that we are about 50% there, built, but know how to do it, have some really great POS platforms online. And what that's going to allow you to do is like beer A, B, C, D, paddle 2, done. So there'll be no time. And really when it comes to serving flights, some of the servers in the crowd might know that that's not their favorite thing to serve because of the time commitment. However, this is an option that reduces time while keeping durability. And so speed has been one of the primary things we've focused on.
We're going to turn it over to you guys for questions, so please get those hands up. We will start right up front.
Hi Ben, nice product,
Thanks.
nice presentation, and you clearly, you and your team have put a lot of thought into how you communicate this all to your various customers. So I have some practical questions. I thought that thing was a tray, but I see it's got holes in it.
Sure.
So how does the beer actually get served? And before you go into that, how does it clean up? So is it dishwasher safe and all that kind of stuff? And you didn't say anything about customer response, so I'm curious.
Yeah, great questions. I'll try to answer all three in like a few sentences. So through our customer discovery, instead of having a flat bottom, it's actually harder to balance. And with a bottom, it grows grime in the corners. And so this is actually the smartest way to serve flights. You'll notice that as you pick it up, they catch about 90% of the beers. And the lightweight factor allows me to move these beers from table to table super easily. So the servability is definitely there, and that's kind of why we put that into place. That said, this is our first embodiment. So we have the ability to make this 6 or change the way that it looks. But this is kind of our favorite ergonomic flavor that really works well with the 4-quadrant touchscreen paired with the 4 quadrants of beer. To answer the last question, customers absolutely love smart flights. I think that's one of the things that we initially went out and tackled was solving our problem of not knowing which one was which. And so after we solved that, we started to learn all these other connections for the establishment's perspective. And so we've really now shifted our focus into making it convenient, making it enticing for those breweries and restaurants. I feel like there's a second. Cleanup. Oh, sure. So these are absolutely water resistant. They work underwater, which is pretty cool. The only thing you can't really do is throw them in the dishwasher, not because of the water, but because of the heat. All the electronic components inside don't like that environment too much. But as far as cleanup goes, it's just as easy as a paddle with nothing on there. So that's on the durability side. Thanks.
Question in the middle.
Yes, on the revenue side, it sounds like then, is it two-pronged where you go both to the established bars and whatnot, and is it a branded product that someone can put their logo on that and only serve their brand to build their market?
Yeah, great question. So I think our primary focus is the industry, right? So it's the breweries, the restaurants, the bars, with electronic flights, with a business account for the app, and even as a swag item, right? So instead of buying a t-shirt at the bar, you buy one of these that doesn't have electronics in it, but it's got a can opener here and allows you to kind of showcase your love for that bar. In supplementing that revenue line, though, we realize the consumer market is huge, and so we're interested in pursuing that, but really our focus right now is the industry as kind of a SaaS B2B to C model.
Question up front.
Sure.
Great presentation.
Thanks.
Do you have visibility to the data that's generated, and if so, are you able to aggregate it across establishments?
So absolutely. When you are in the software game, you realize that this is basically just a delivery device for big data. Now, big data is a fun word to say, but it takes a long time to really develop something that's meaningful on an industry-wide perspective. However, that is something that we're intrigued by the value of in the future. Without sharing details of data between industry, perhaps competitors, we are able to provide them with all their data while still keeping kind of a global view from a company perspective.
I have another question in the center.
As director of sales and investments for a startup, I really like this idea, and I could definitely use this and apply what you guys are doing to the startup I'm working with right now. The question, and congratulations, it takes guts and courage and deliver. I don't know, I was just making a joke, but how do you guys, the question I have is, who have you guys partnered, what kind of partnerships are you guys bringing to the table in terms of businesses? Who knows about it? What are your guys' goals with this? Are you guys looking to go to bars? Are you guys looking to go to distilleries? How are you guys going to partner this, and how are you guys going to make this the thing that bars absolutely must have? Bars and restaurants, I should say.
Yeah, thanks. I'll keep it focused on craft beer just for conciseness. But I think you look at Granite City, Buffalo Wild Wings, some of these establishments that know craft beer is cool, but have a hard time showcasing themselves as an authority in the space, are kind of like our whales, right? If we sell like Flicks, for instance, they've got 9 locations. You put 100 of these paddles into each location, that's $9,000 a month, So there's some really neat opportunity to scale quickly with larger national organizations. However, I think it's because we like craft beer so much. It's interesting, we've almost targeted some of the smaller, more localized establishments first, and realize that this is kind of an addition to their budget. And so although it's cool, it isn't quantifiably proven. And so I think there's a little time before we're able to walk into a place that doesn't serve a whole lot of beer, and all of a sudden this makes sense for them financially. That is one of the reasons why the app is so important, because it gives folks a way to kind of ease themselves into the Smart Flight experience at only $35 a month. And as they start connecting to their customers, we can go online with the full Smart Flight experience and kind of move them through that process.
Question to the back in front.
Both at the same time.
Nice job on your presentation. Regarding the app, a couple of questions. One, you mentioned there was a price on the app. Is the restaurant or the individual paying that? And two, is there any issue with people not wanting to download an app since they're right there at the restaurant and maybe just going to use it at that time?
Absolutely. So the price would be coming from the establishment. We looked at Untappd as kind of our model. It's interesting, we're partners with those folks. Our entire menu is built on their API. And so if you have a beer in Untappd, which is everything, you're in our database, which is really kind of some of our secret sauce on the back end side. And so our friendship with Untappd is a neat opportunity to learn from them as well. And in this case, they charge about $50 a month, give or take. And so we wanted to not duplicate Untappd. We're providing more of an experience for the flight, what pairs with what, and oh, by the way, since we're in your POS, now we know the nachos go well with that IPA flight, right? So it's that predictive suggestions that we're able to kind of tap into using the app, using the paddles. The last question, sorry, I got a little excited.
Adoption from the individual downloading the app.
Oh, I know. No one likes to download a new app, right? So right now you're able to share the flight by going to a unique URL, which is built every time a flight is served. So that URL identifies the beers that you've had, and then allows you to share that, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and check it in directly in Untappd. And so that would be a way around getting an app, going straight to the web version of it. But our hope is, as you've seen with a lot of websites, that top banner drops down, hey, download our app for a more rich experience. That's probably the direction we'll head with that.
Okay, question in the front.
Sure.
Hi, Ben. So, never thought I'd ever need one of these, but if I were in the restaurant business, I would be like signing up.
Everything else will feel prehistoric. I get so pissed off when I have flights now because I'm like, what is going on here? I don't know which one is which.
Okay, so a couple of things. Kansas City is one of the largest craft brewers in the United States.
Absolutely.
Boulevard. I can see opportunities for them paying for it, the beer distributors. Now,
Yes.
I know some of them, it's a balkanized business.
Sure.
There's there's 20 of them that serve the Kansas City metropolitan area. It's
One of the largest in the
government
country.
protected,
Yeah.
you know, monopoly. What about using QR codes so that, you know, you can scan it, or near field IoT that will, boom, pop up the thing right on your phone? Those ideas been considered?
Yeah, absolutely. RFID technology is another play on that. It's kind of interesting. The new iOS is going to include the QR reader inside of your camera. So instead of the app that no one has, it might be a little easier to scan that QR code. It's also an interesting bridge between the app and any serving device. So maybe you don't have these yet, but you have this active sticker that talks to the POS. And so as that individual flight is served, that sticker is updated, and that's how you can identify which one is which through your phone directly.
Question on your right.
Yeah.
Hey Ben.
Hi.
So I am here from Charleston, South Carolina.
Oh, nice.
We also have huge brewery beer things going
Yes.
on. So we've had a lot of startups think around the same types of problems. It sounds like there's a chicken or egg problem of you've developed something that's really cool for the consumer, but now the breweries you've got to figure out what their pain point is. And so my question to you is, as you've gone to some of the smaller breweries, has it been proven that the thing you mentioned earlier about, oh hey, this could help you sell more beer, has that been a key to you finding your initial target market?
It's interesting because they're already selling a fair amount of beer, and so this might add a little bump here and there, but where it really impacts it is going to be that social sharing. It's going to be, honestly, like the cool factor, the differentiation of a place that has something that's kind of hot compared to the next place that it's not. And so, like I said, we're a little early to have quantifiable data that says this thing sells more beer. But I'm just so confident that it will, not only in the tap room, but outside of the tap room as well. Think of that wet piece of paper that you throw away after you leave. Now all of a sudden you're connected to it in your pocket, and when you go to that grocery store with a wall of craft beer, oh, by the way, you know, this Surly or this Boulevard is really interesting because I remember liking it from my Smart Flight experience.
Question in the center.
What would prevent a local microbrewery from just buying a few of your $20 consumer models versus leasing the $10 a month?
Sure. Well, there's no electronics in the consumer model, so they're welcome to have those. It might even be a lower barrier of entry to come in with some nice durable plastic paddles that look sharp, and then, you know, using the app perhaps with those to activate the Smart Flight experience. But, you know, now we're in the door. We're in the door, right? So once they realize the team and the product and the support that we provide, hopefully they'll move up, and as they believe in this product, they can kind of take it to the next level with the electronic version.
Question back left.
Sure.
I think that with collecting the data, you are really onto something, because that will enable the breweries and other places to sell beer to do a lot. But I think that app, so that people can develop it, if you can share directly from the app out to social media, that then becomes a huge exposure for the beer brands, and
right.
That, I think, it has a lot of possibilities.
In the dashboard, you can set up the preloaded posts for Twitter or Facebook, right? So instead of hoping that you get mentioned properly, you're going to preload it with your handle so that it's accurately being shared with a short tag if you want to include all the beers and accurately title as well. And so that kind of social awareness is so valuable, and we've made it really easy. From the paddle, it's kind of a bridge. You take your phone and go to a unique URL, but in the app, boy, it's already there, so it's even easier. I saw a question here too.
Hi there.
Hello.
Great presentation.
Hey, thanks.
So my question is around competition. So do you have any competitors in this marketplace? Is there anybody else building something or selling something like this? And then what's the do-nothing competitor? For example, how much does a wooden flight cost?
Yeah.
And are you going to have barriers with companies, with bars that don't want to put out the money for this, and they're willing to just use a nice wooden bar?
Yeah, it's funny because you kind of answered your own question. I mean, our competitor is the low price option. these paddles are close to zero, right? So whether it's $1 or $2 compared to $10 a month, there is a new budget item that we're kind of introducing as an option. And so I think our primary competitors are the status quo. And you know, I guess I'm okay with that. I think this is something that is kind of a new era opportunity for bars and for customers that I hope that they love. And so, although the competitive scene is a little light right now because this technology is fresh, it's still something that we're conscious of. And the way that we came up with our pricing was built around what they are already paying for, right? So the POS system, the dishwasher they lease, things that they're already paying for, so that we can fit within that range and not be this like super expensive want item.
Final question.
All right.
What can we as a community do for you?
Well, as I mentioned in the presentation, I love that question because I get to ask it each week in Des Moines. So it's, like I mentioned, an absolute pleasure to be here in Kansas City, the mothership of 1 million cups. I think as individuals, next time you hit the bar, next time you hit the brewery, think about this product. Have you heard of Flightbright, right? Maybe there's a phone call or a text or a tweet or an Instagram post that you can share and tag someone that might be meaningful introductions for us. And then also with that kind of big announcement from our company's perspective, we'd love to connect with folks who are interested in plugging into Flightbright and the future of smart flights. Cheers, everyone.
In the neon future, life will have opportunity to explore its limitless diversity. Life will have no boundaries.